Good morning. This is Faith in Our Hometown, brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin. And now, here is your host, Father Jay Friedel.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us for another Sunday morning of Faith in Our Hometown, our weekly discussion about things that matter to us as people of faith in the greater Joplin area. One of the things that usually always comes in November are some elections. And even though it's a small election, there's not a lot of things on the ballot, but it's always an important thing for us as people who matter about things to make our voices known in the culture. And so I hope that as we come to this Tuesday, everybody runs out and does vote and exercises their right. It's important for us to take part in that political process all the time. One of the things on the ballot is Proposition B, and we're talking about that because it's a way of trying to say, how do we fund things that we all want? But what is the best way for us to go about doing that? And we're going to talk about some of those pros and cons with some of the folks here. I've got Mayor Gary Shaw with us, and also Jeremy Humphres, who's with our fire department, and they're going to be talking about some of those things with us in a few moments. So we're going to be right back after this Mercy Minute. Stick around and don't go away.
The dreaded tagged photo. I married the love of my life in October, and when I got home that night, I saw this. Frankly, this is every obese person's worst nightmare. You have no control, none, over what other people post. And up until that day, I'd been very careful about how I presented myself on social media. In fact, I generally only posted photos like this. What's sad is that I haven't always been like this. Confession, I've been a yo-yo dieter for roughly 10 years. When I met this amazing guy 3 years ago, he didn't care how much I weighed, but he did care about my health. A month after our wedding, I talked to my doctor and my journey began. Here's an honest and usually pretty entertaining look at how I got to bariatric surgery and beyond. Buckle up, check out my blog, Confessions of a Yo-Yo Dieter.
So welcome back, and it's good to have you with us today, Gary and Jeremy. So to first introduce yourselves to our viewing audience so everybody knows who you are and what you're doing. We've had Mayor Shaw here before, but you're new to the show, so why don't you just tell us how long you've been in Joplin and what you do for the fire department?
I've been with the fire department for 14 years with the city. I'm a captain at Station 2.
Okay. Yeah, and Mayor Shaw, you've been a local pastor on the city council forever, and now you're the mayor.
Yes, again.
Okay. Again.
Actually, this is the second time.
I know,
You're right.
again.
I've been on the council for 18 years, and I've enjoyed it most of the time. There's been some challenges, but it's a way to give back to the community, and I look forward to that. And it has been a good trip. I've enjoyed it.
And you'd probably say the same thing about your duties over at First Christian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Most days it's good. I say the same thing about pastor, and it's just like 14 days out of 15 is all right. That 15th day, but what the heck. So we do have this ballot initiative in front of us, and we've got to decide as a city how we want to, all the folks here in Joplin have got to decide how they want to proceed. And so first tell us what's at stake and what's going on, and set that up for everybody, and then we'll talk about some pros and cons.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Well, like every other thing, if you want certain things, you have to pay for them.
Right.
And one of the problems that we've had years ago, back in the 1980s, we had a police and fire pension fund that was set up. That fund never really matured to the area to advance to the degree that we wanted it to. Through investments, through the change in the economy, through actually, it's not just in Joplin, it's through a lot of the major cities around the country has run into the same experience. So we had to find a way to address that, not only to take care of the police and fire pension fund, but also to prepare ourselves so that we could attract the best folks out there that we could to be our police and firemen. And once we attract them and trained them, then to be able to keep them and have, certainly retention is one of our main things that we're concerned about. So about 8 months ago, we sat down with the police chief and the fire chief and the administrative folks from the city, and we decided we need to come up with a plan to how we can take care of this problems that are facing us, to be able to take care of the police and fire pension fund, work on our retention and recruitment, and we came up with a plan, and that's what this is. Prop B is, we're calling it a better plan for a better Joplin, and so that's what we're involved in.
Yeah, and again, he's just set you up because he said, now, obviously, you're one of the best. Okay, so there you have it. So now you got to deliver. But in that context, how do you see this as a, as a issue for our voters?
Well, I mean, what it comes down to is we've had this plan, and it's really an outdated plan. Whenever someone comes, we try to recruit someone, and they come to Joplin, they have to start over. They can't bring their experience or retirement.
So you can't hire experienced firefighters.
No,
you have
because
to hire
you
newbies.
you have 10 years on a job somewhere else, and you want to come to Joplin, and you have to start over in your retirement. Because of our plan that we currently have is a closed plan. It's very small. By moving to the new plan, which is loggers, it's a statewide plan. So now when someone's in another city and they want to come to Joplin, they can bring their time with them so we can actually get that experienced personnel. And the thing that is really nice about this is we're going to be able to retain our experienced personnel that we have here, because that's the biggest thing is we lose guys. They come in as a young age and they come in, they get trained, and they're sought after. So we have a very young police and fire staff that is experienced, but they're sought after. And we have to be able to always be able to recruit and retain that experienced people. And Plan B is one way that we feel is a plan that this is going to move us forward. And we've worked together on this.
Yeah, now let me just ask a couple of questions. So the pros and cons again, so our folks I just want everybody to go out and vote and let us know what you want to do, because I just think that's an important thing for all of us as people who are active in this area and care about our city. Okay?
Absolutely.
So in terms of doing that, what the pros of this would be that we'd be able to attract and retain and make some changes to the current plan.
Yes.
So in terms of doing that, what are the pros of Proposition B, and what's it going to cost us? Okay.
Well, basically, the great thing about it is the half-cent sales tax that'll be added to what we presently have, and the thing of it is that it's not for infinity. It's for 12 years, and it'll help us to fund what we have and to put ourselves in a position to be able to do the recruiting we want. I said something a while back about us having the best, and we do have the best, because we have the best trained policemen, we have the best trained firemen, and so all the areas around us want them. So unless we do something to hold on to them, then we're going to lose them. And so this will help us to do that as well. And if you have a fire, if you have somebody break into your home, it's good to have somebody come, but you'd like to have the best that there are come, and that's what we're trying to do.
And one thing about this too, only 12 years, if it reaches its funding level to 120%, before 12 years, it's done.
Yes.
So even
before that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I mean, we get this funding set up, and this is a benefit that was promised to the police and firefighters that were here, and then also what we're doing is fulfilling that promise, and then that we're moving forward in, honestly, to saving the taxpayers money, because over 20 years, it saves $28 million in taxes. The way current practice is now, and the way we're having to fund the pension that is in place, it's costing so much. By paying this off quicker, we save money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, trying to get ahead of it is always, I mean, for any of us who are trying to do anything, I'm going to that building, do improvement projects or whatever at church. If you start with more and you do it better, and you borrow less,
right,
you pay it off a whole lot faster than if you're paying the whole thing, on interest up front. It's
and
tough.
if you have an obligation, you have to pay it. We have an obligation to these men and women that are on our police and fire department, and we have to pay that. And right now, the way that's under the present situation, we have to pay so much money every year out of the general fund.
Uh-huh.
We take care of that, and then we're going to have money freed up in the general fund where we can do the other things that we need to provide the other services that our citizens want in Joplin.
What would critics of the plan say? So what have you heard? What are some of the criticisms that you've heard instead of doing it this way that maybe you want to do it a different way?
Some people, a sales tax. Why a sales tax? Well, first off, Joplin's population during the nighttime is about 50 to 52,000 people.
Right.
It balloons up to 250,000 people during the day, and then on
if
Friday
not,
and
just
Saturday
drive
night.
around during the day versus at night.
But that is also a burden on our emergency services.
Sure it is.
Because people that come to this town, we have police calls, we have fire calls, threats and everything. So what this does is it spreads that out to everyone. It's not just putting the burden, because if you think about it, a person who lives in Joplin, should they be funding out of 50,000 people for basically a city of 250,000? No, it should be the other way around. And this is actually the best way because we've looked at several when we looked at revenue, and this was the best, honestly, to be a good steward of the people's money and take care of the issue.
Well, and it helps other people to share the folks coming in, you know, anybody that comes to town and does their thing. And we do that a lot, obviously. We do swell so much during the day. When I first moved here and I looked at the population, and then when I actually moved here and I'm like, why does it take me 6 times longer to drive to town than it does in Cape Girardeau? What is the deal? And I was like,
And it is a half-cent sales tax. So let's put that in perspective. You spend $100 at the grocery store, it's 50 cents. You're looking at a can of pop. So, you know, that's it. We've tried to do it where it's going to spread it out and not put too much burden on the property owners. It's everybody that comes into Joplin.
Yeah.
And the only negatives I've really heard, Father Jay, is that, well, people are liable to go to other communities because the sales tax is going to be so high. But we're really not. We're going to be right in the middle of the sales tax from the surrounding.
From the folks in the area, the region. So
And
we're not going to be really way out of line.
No, not at all. And, you know.
Higher some, lower than others.
Exactly, yeah.
And it is for a certain amount of time, and it'll fall off. And you know the way fuel prices are, you could drive to another town and save a little bit. You're probably going to spend more in gas, you know, so that's one thing.
Well, you know, and it's interesting because I am in several communities.
Sure.
You know, I'm over in Webb City, I'm over in Carthage, I'm at all the spots in between because I drive back and forth. And, you know, I've really got to say, I never bought or not bought anything, honestly, in one of those places thinking about, oh, if I buy it here, my sales tax is going to be 0.5%, half a cent difference. I mean, I just really haven't. I haven't done that. Now, some people might.
Yeah.
Some people might, but I've never really thought about it in that way or in that regard.
Sure.
It doesn't seem too out of line. But again, you know, we want everybody to make an informed decision and make their vote and do their thing according to whatever their conscience tells them.
Certainly.
So, you know, this is an interesting thing, and maybe Gary ought to direct this more to you. But you know, I've always looked at paying taxes as kind of a sacred trust. I mean, I always stop and I look at the fact that when we do taxes, we're doing it because it's part of the corporate or the common good that we do together. And, you know, I know that, you know, that I hope I never have to use the fire department here.
Certainly.
I was very grateful for the fire department in Cape Girardeau because my house almost burned down one time and they saved everything except for 2 Christmas ornaments and a bottle of cologne. And the roof almost half the way burned out. It was a slow day. It was a slow day, so they were able to carry everything out and you know, plastic everything off before they ripped that part of the roof out and did their thing. But they saved absolutely everything except for 2 Christmas ornaments and a bottle of cologne. Not too bad, okay? I hope never to go through that again, and I hope I never need you guys, okay?
I understand.
But with that context, I can't afford the fire department by myself.
No.
I mean, that's part of why I see that this, you know, there's some paying of taxes, and nobody wants to pay more taxes than they need to pay.
No.
And that's why I love the fact that if you fund the thing and it gets finished early, it ends. I think all those things are good, and they make good Joplin sense.
Yes.
Okay, because I mean, Joplin's very practical about certain things like
sure,
that,
absolutely.
and I'm glad about that. But I always look at paying taxes in some ways as a sacred trust. Gary, just real quick, how do you think we do? I mean, as a city with our money together.
I think we're doing really well. You know, we've had some challenges. You do that, but it's a situation where it's a shared benefit and a shared expense, and it's one of those situations that we're in a position now. We're growing like we've never grown before. I understand we're the second fastest growing city in the state of Missouri.
Wow.
And so there's great things ahead of us, and so we need to position ourselves to keep that growth going.
Well, there's a great thought. I hadn't heard that thing, but I'll tell you what, we're going to talk a little bit more about that because I really want to kind of get that out there on the air too. We're going to be right back after a quick break. Don't go away.
You're watching Faith in Our Hometown on KSN TV, brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin.
Again, well, thanks for being with us for another fall morning here at Faith in Our Hometown. My guests this morning, Mayor Gary Shaw and Jeremy Humphres, who is of our fire department here in the city of Joplin. And we were just talking before the break about the fact that we're experiencing great growth as a city right now.
Yes.
And that's something that I have not, I mean, you know, I read the paper every day and do some of those things and, you know, watch, you know, what I can of the news, which I'm usually never around the TV at, you know, at those times, but I mean, but I try to catch up, and I'd heard this thing about the fact that we're actually growing that fast,
Yes.
Which I think is amazing.
Well, it's amazing that when you turn on your TV and you get the news, everything has to be spectacular. We have to talk about all the negatives and everything, but there are some great things going on.
Yeah.
We have a new medical school here. It's 3
yeah.
years old. Now, they've announced a new dental school. We have a new arts center being built. We have Vision 2022 with a lot of projects that are going on in our community. Our university, Missouri Southern State University, is an outstanding educational facility.
And value.
And value, absolutely. And these are all things that's helping us to look good in the future. And as the mayor, I've been saying I believe Joplin's greatest days are ahead, but I think that we're seeing now that is a reality. That is a possibility. And so we've got some growing pains, and we've been working hard to establish some things to be able to handle that growth. And one of those areas is going to need to be, we're going to need more help in our parks and recreation. We're going to need more in our public works. We're going to need more in our police and fire if we're going to take care of these people that are coming in. And we have a new chamber president now that's a young man that's full of vim and vigor, has a lot of tech knowledge, and is doing a lot of positive things for us. So I'm excited about where we're headed and where we're going. And as a city, we need to be prepared to receive these folks that are coming.
All right, now I'm going to put you on the spot, okay? But just speaking in terms of our protection and our well-being as a city, and I'm going to ask you to speak for the police and the fire just while you're at it. You think are we getting poised to be ready for that new growth and to try to be there to keep that shield of protection, if you will, over the whole city?
There's not a department really out there that we could even match with our training levels that we have. So we get our guys on the streets, the highest trained, and this is one of the things that we see to keep them here because they're so sought after. We have to keep them here, and that's why Prop B is so important. A lot of people don't realize, unless you call 911, we respond to medical calls. 70% of our calls in the fire department are medical calls. We have all EMTs, paramedics, so within 4 minutes we can be at your house. Medical emergencies happen all the time. The fact is, just recently we have our national average for CPR saves. About 25% of people, when CPR is in progress and 911 emergency services responders, about a 25% survival rate. Our numbers are just in. We are running 65%.
Wow.
So that comes to training, and that's a service that's here for the citizens of Joplin, and we have to be able to keep that training and moving forward. So I think that speaks volumes for our department and our police department that we are the best, and we train to be the best, and we just got to do this is something that has to happen and move us forward, and that we can keep and retain, because what it comes down to, when you call 911 for an emergency, you want experienced people. You want people there that have been there and know how to handle that situation. And that's what this really comes down to.
Yeah. Jeremy, that's one of the reasons why we went the sales tax route too, because it's not just our people that these folks are ministering to and taking care of.
Right.
When our numbers rise to 200 to 250,000 during the day, there are people, most of the heart attacks and things happen outside of the hospital, and so they need experienced people to be here to take care of them. And this is one of the tools that we're going to be able to provide and do even better than we are already.
Well, good for you and good for us. I'm glad. That's, I never know, because I just call like a regular citizen too, but it's just like I've always experienced good response and good relationship with the city, and I'm right down there in the core, and we're right, so I was like, but I just assume that that's going on elsewhere and for everybody else.
Yeah, when you look at public safety, to be a professional football player and all that, those are pros. Well, public safety people, that's what we are. This is our professional, and we're sought after just like any other professional. So we really got to be able to keep them here.
Now, I don't like scare tactics.
No,
okay,
no,
I don't want to do that. But I'm just saying, what's
fair.
at stake if we don't pass this? Do you think?
Well, obviously, our budgets are tight as it is. We're going to continue to draw money out of the general fund that we could be using for other things to do.
Okay.
And it's just, it's just one of those situations where we have worked and worked and worked to cut off all the fat. except for the mayor. The mayor's a little overweight, but everything else in the city, as we've cut it down to the bare bone, and we really can't cut any further. So, you know, it's just time for us to take the next step. You know, Winston Churchill made the statement that it's all right to give your best, but sometimes you got to go beyond that. You got to give what's required, and I think that's where we are. And a lot of people feel, well, it's those politicians. They're wanting more money. Well, the truth of the matter is, I'm a citizen of Joplin. I've been a citizen since 1960. I love this community. I've been to 28 countries, and still Joplin's where I choose to be because I love this part of the world. And we want to take care of it and want to take care of our people. And I pay taxes just like everybody else, but it's this sales tax that seems to be the best tool to spread it out and for the benefit that we're getting from it.
Yeah. And legitimately, somebody can think differently, but
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
I just asked you here today because I knew it was an important thing, and sometimes I think, sometimes I try to always educate myself before we have
Sure.
an election issue or do something like that, and sometimes I just never get it all done. And I figured this is a community service. That's one of the reasons why we have the show, is to say, okay, let's just talk about the issue and put it out there in terms of that. Tell us a little bit about the makeup of the force, as you know it. So, what are your other firefighters like? Okay, how many, like somebody been working here for how long versus?
We've gotten young. We've retained some of the guys, but I mean, a lot of them have been recruited out. So we're a younger department, which is good because now once we can keep them here, they got a long career here. But that's one of the things that we have 6 stations. We provide, like I said, a 4-minute response time. We can be with anybody's emergency within 4 minutes. In fact, we're needing to build Station 7.
Right.
It's on to provide that coverage. But we have a really good guys and gals that work here at the department, and they're passionate about it. We want to keep them.
Father Jay, one of the things that amazes me about the police and fire too, and not only do they do their jobs, but every time we have a parade, every time we have a run, and there's lots of run for fundraisers and everything, we have police and fire that are serving at every intersection and taking care of the people that get overexhausted and so forth and so forth. And then besides that, then they're always involved in one of the good service clubs around town, helping them, and so they do an awful lot, and we're very thankful for them.
It's interesting to me. I mean, living here now, I'm on my 14th year. Okay, I checked the expiration date on my heel, and I'm way past. But at any rate, I've lived here for 14 years now, and I really have to say I have. You sometimes read about the tensions and the problems that are going on in other cities around the U.S., and certainly around the world, where people don't have a good relationship with their civil, officers, their fire and their police departments. And I just always felt blessed in the last 14 years. Now, maybe I'm, a little Pollyanna-ish, but I'm saying I really think we got a good thing going here. We really do. I mean, we got a good relationship. There's a good relationship that I think that exists in the city. Nobody seems to be fearful of police. Nobody seems to be, everybody believes that they can call the fire department and receive, assistance. I don't hear people saying, "Oh my gosh, well, even if I call, it's going to be, forever." I got to tell you, in, even 13 plus years now of doing funerals. We're always told that, in terms of, escorting folks and, just giving that little extra honor and those kinds of things. I love Joplin because they're still escorted. I've always been told by the funeral directors, if there's something going on, they may not be able to help us if they're out on a call, and I wouldn't expect them if they're out on a call, but probably only twice in 14 years have I not had that kind of just courtesy, from from our local law enforcement and everybody to do some of that. I'll also tell you, in Carthage, give them a little shout out too. Whenever we take off from there and they're not busy, the fire department's not busy, they just come out and they actually just stand at guard when everybody's driving past for the funerals and everything. And I just got to tell you, living in these communities here in Southwest Missouri, I still love the fact that our firefighters and our police folk care about their citizenry.
You bet.
It's not just a job, but it's kind of like we're in this relationship together. And I think we all benefit from
Oh,
it.
you bet.
You know, nobody's complaining about any of that I hear.
You see our police and fire working together with Webb City and Joplin. I mean, with Carthage and Neosho when we have opportunity. And so, you know, that's the whole thing. It's regionalism. It's caring for one another. What's good for us is good for the other parts of the communities around us, and it's good to see us growing together and accomplish the things we do. And again, I encourage the people to look at the consequences here and to realize that it's an important thing, and not a lot of things are going to be on the ballot on November 5th, but this is a very important one for them to consider, and we appreciate them getting out and voting.
Yeah, and the other thing that I want to say in that regard is that don't stay home just because there's not much on the ballot. Okay, it's important for us as a city, even though there's not other big things. You know, it's not a huge, election year in terms of representatives or senators or president or anything. But it is still important for us to get out there and to make our voices known about the way we want to see our city run and how we want to fund the things that are important to all of us in that common good in terms of fire and police. So again, my guests this morning, Gary Shaw and Jeremy Humphres, talking about Proposition B. We're going to be right back after this Mercy Minute.
Lung cancer is the leading cause of cancer deaths in the U.S., and now we have an effective tool to screen for it. A low-dose CT uses a lower amount of radiation than a standard chest CT.
Breathe in.
Better detailed pictures than a chest x-ray of small abnormal areas of the lung. A person must be between 55 to 77 years old, asymptomatic, which means they don't have any symptoms such as coughing up blood, chronic cough, shortness of breath, unusual weight loss, or any other worrisome symptoms. They must also be a current smoker or have quit within the past 15 years, also must have a 30-pack year history or more, which equates to smoking 1 pack a day for 30 years, or 2 packs a day for 15 years. People generally avoid these scans possibly due to fear of what could be found. Like many other cancers, if we can detect lung cancer early, it could be very treatable and life-saving.
Well, thank you for giving part of your beautiful fall morning, such that it is, to a little bit of time with us this morning here at Faith in Our Hometown. You know, I have to say, after living in Joplin for 14 years, or in my 14th year, that I'm still so happy to be a part of this community. I got to say, in all honesty, I didn't want to leave Southeast Missouri, but I found a new home in Southwest Missouri. And I've got to say that I love the community, and I love our feeling as a city. And we've had lots of challenges the last few years, but we still come together to try to figure out how to make them work. I think we need to be proud of our civil service here in this area. I think we need to continue to be proud of our police and our firemen. How you vote on Tuesday, of course, is up to you. You've got to figure out the best way to do this, but I think we can all agree that one way or another, we'd like to make sure that our police and our fire departments are well funded. And I hope that you'll join us again next week for another episode of Faith in Our Hometown. Show up at that ballot box on Tuesday.
Thanks for watching. Faith in Our Hometown can be seen Sunday mornings at 6:30 and 9 a.m. on KSN. Brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin.